So Infinity Pool was directed by Brandon Cronenberg. He's the son of director David Cronenberg, and it stars Alexander Skarsgård, Cleopatra Coleman, Mia Goth, and it's about a couple played by Alexander Skarsgård and Cleopatra Coleman. They're a kind of wealthy couple, even though he hasn't written a book in like 6 years, and they're mainly using her money. Meanwhile, they meet a couple. The woman in the relationship is Mia Goth, and they wind up having a good time. They wind up having a blast until they wind up doing something illegal, and they learn about the horrifying justice system in the country that they're visiting. And that's all I'll explain about the movie because there's a lot about this movie that I probably shouldn't talk about. So this was a movie that, honestly, when I first saw the trailer for the first time, I was intrigued, but at the same time, I didn't really know too much of what the movie was about. And even though I knew that this was from Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg, he previously directed the movie Possessor, which I thought was a pretty creepy movie overall. I was kind of intrigued, but I still didn't know too much about it. After walking away from this movie, I was just shocked. I was disturbed, and I kind of just expected that from a movie like this. So, what worked in the movie? Mainly the acting is pretty good, particularly from Alexander Skarsgård. He's a really good actor, surprisingly. I think he's done a really good job here. He was also really good in The Northman. I think this is his most disturbing performance yet, given the nature of the movie. Mia Goth is really good in this movie. She, however, is not as good as she was in Pearl, but she is definitely creepy. She is definitely really good, and she definitely is one of those characters that just got under my skin. She was really good in this movie. And Cleopatra Coleman, even though I felt like she didn't really have much to do, I thought she did a really good job as well. The score by Tim Hecker, I thought that was really creepy. It was really well done. It was eerie. It was intense. It was kind of a mixture of a science fiction score with a horror score, and I thought it blended very nicely. The cinematography by Karim Hussein, I believe I'm mispronouncing that, but I thought they did a really good job. It was very bright and colorful, and I thought it was just pretty creepy. It was pretty creepy because like it was bright and colorful, but it was also kind of dark at times, and it's like it had a nice blend of color given everything that was going on. The atmosphere is just completely unsettling, and I'm just kind of like squirming in my seat for the most part of the movie. And I could not predict anything that happened in this movie. If you went in this movie and came out saying, "Oh yeah, I predicted everything was going to happen," I would say BS because like I don't think anyone could have predicted what happened in this movie. And if I had to point out any issues with the movie, I feel like the whole subtext of the movie is just not very interesting about its comments about, very wealthy people, 1% and everything. I do think it's kind of half-baked. It doesn't really go into depth with it. I kind of think it's just mostly surface level. I feel like a couple other movies have done it better this year, like The Menu, for instance, and Parasite from several years back. I feel like the whole commentary on rich people is not as interesting as it thinks. And also, again, I felt like Cleopatra Coleman could have been in the movie a lot more. I feel like her character could have been developed a little bit more. And also, a lot of the actors in the movie, besides Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth, who they kind of hang out with in the movie, I didn't think they were interesting. They didn't really leave much of an impression on me. And also, this movie has a few pacing issues. The movie is almost 2 hours long, and I've definitely felt the runtime at times where it's just like, I kind of just want this movie to just wrap up, and not necessarily wrap up, but like kind of speed things along. But then again, it's not A24, but it's more of a neon movie. So it kind of has that slow burn vibe to it. So that was kind of annoying to me, whereas like it was definitely kind of like stretching the 2 hour mark, and it definitely kind of does feel repetitive at times, particularly in the second act. So, but this is a movie that you kind of need to know what you're getting into. If you know who David Cronenberg is, or you've seen Possessor, then you should definitely, if you like any of David Cronenberg stuff, or if you've seen Possessor and thought it was interesting, this is definitely worth a watch. This is not a movie that should be viewed by a lot of people. This is a movie that I'm surprised actually came to this area. I didn't think it was going to come to this area. I just figured, oh yeah, it will play around here. It won't play around here, but I'll just catch it on streaming eventually. No, I found it playing in a couple theaters in my town, and I was just very shocked, especially given the nature of this movie, which is very disturbing, just sick. But I still think it's kind of worth watching, but again, it's kind of with an asterisk, because I'm just saying, if you know what you're getting into, then definitely check it out. If you don't care for this stuff, then don't see this movie, because you're just going to be sick and offended, and it's just an uncomfortable time. So overall, I do think it's a movie that is worth watching, only if you're a fan of this stuff. The acting's pretty good. The actual production values are really good. The atmosphere is great. The It's very unpredictable, but I also feel like some of the actors could have done a better job. There's several pacing issues, and I just feel like, again, you should know what you're getting into if you decide to watch this movie. Don't just watch it on my recommendation. Just watch it based on how you feel about, I don't know, just anything. If you saw Possessor and hated it, please don't watch this movie. But I would give it a chance if you can get past a lot of things that actually happen in this movie, which I feel weird because I'm not talking about it, but I kind of don't want to because it's just so surprising. It's kind of worth a watch. I'll give it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. I would give it 3 out of 4 because I know that, like, for me it was just kind of like so weird and just so unpredictable that I kind of thought it was interesting. But I just feel like for most people it's just not going to be okay. And I'm honestly surprised that it even played in this area, because we normally don't get movies like this. So, what did you think of Infinity Pool? Also, are you a fan of David Cronenberg? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.